Yeah, it's rock and roll and rolling rocks. When I was a kid, I had a friend, Mark, my best friend, born the same day as me, or the same date. And we had a little bike group through the neighborhood we called the Rolling Stones, or the Rolling Wheels, or, it was Rolling Stones. We were the Rolling Stones on our bikes, and, like that, because we were that age when they came out, which was about 13 years old. So this was what I was, when we enter our hormonal phase, the second phase, age 12, we go through a change, and this is pretty much getting imprinted by the music and the youth opportunities of the time, looking for independence, looking for sex and rock and roll. And in my generation, it turned out to be drug, sex, and rock and roll. And but also what came in at that same time was the Eckankar, with that is, with the Paul Twitchell, I would say, not the Eckankar in that sense. It was more the Rebazar and the books, the writings, and the spiritual, metaphysical, and politically incorrect, or the free movement that we were given the opportunity. Is also racial and economic situations and national conditions that we all had to deal with the school system, etc., in the institutions, and also questioning, which is good modus operandi. That's what the youths need to do, or is best if they have the opportunity. They see that rather than just to buy into everything that was shared and provided. In some cases, in all different varieties of ways. So everyone had all kinds of individual experience like that. So that was a origination there for me, and not that it matters, but I did go to a school that had African American or Black, Latino population, males. It's an all-male school, and I learned a great deal about the social and the worldly context. This was the time when Kennedy and Martin Luther King and the Beatles. John Lennon was also killed at the end of it. These are, well, it's funny because there's two things about it. One is that there's imprinting going on through the social cultural. This happened with the drug culture in California, as an example. The Grateful Dead, acid, and the freedom, peace and love music, Woodstock, etc. So I was, again, that opportunity where I had some experiences, etc., and it led me to departing from being into the social model, which would be something like going to college, getting a job, and following the religion or the political and business environments. And there was a movement towards naturalism, and also to be aware of our destruction of the natural environment. So there again is another opportunity to step out, step up, and or leave. And which is, I did both of those, or all of the above, whatever. And it led me to eventually coming across the stories of Paul Twitchell and the spiritual mystics and religious groups and speakers and so-called teachers, masters, and, you know, okay. So that's like step one. And then the second step is, okay, now what have you found, or what is real to be observed and lived with and being? So I did that, or attempted to, in whatever way, including the spiritual / religious, it turned out, Eckankarish, and other things. I had approached and studied all of it. So that was, now, what can I do with it? And in my own case, it's like, okay, I picked maybe 3 areas, including lifestyles and creativity, writing or music or whatever. And thirdly, being the discovery and the implementation of the understandings or the awarenesses of the, what I'm going to say is new you here, and whatever it was, you know, where I was with, because it's always a developing thing. Those 3 things are always developing, and we have the opportunity to develop them all the time. And every day now for me is like that. So I'm exemplifying it, or at least experiencing it. And so I just wanted to share that kind of set, because this is like moving into the 3rd phase for myself. The whole phase, let's say it's like, you know, anyway, I'm not going to describe too much, except for we each have our own, and you want to recognize that and dive into up to a point, unless it's a deep rabbit hole, of course. And we're just trying to find ways now, myself, I'd say, to share on how to share it now. I think because one of the areas I worked with is the solar arts, I call it, which is like something like the Vidya, the art of seeing. It used to be called EK Vidya, and whatever it was before that, you know, and through the centuries, you know, same things, going through the centuries of lifetimes, and at the same time watching the visions, including the dream visions and waking dreams and all the other experiences, which are of the same, because they're all waking dream vision experiences. You know, you can't avoid it. You may not be able to dream or remember your dream, but you still can't avoid it, because it's in every outer and inner activity that we're experiencing. And we come up against this huge barrier all the time, but in general, there's times when you come up really hard against it and see it. Or it could be a mirror that won't go away, which is like the mirage of the world, something that doesn't go away, even though we may be able to see through it. So in that sense, yeah, it could be said that it's not there anymore, kind of like you're inside a mirror and then you jumped right out of it. You're not in it anymore. So there's no bipolar polarization of eyes and what we see, or any of the other polarities that we have, which are numerous and infinite in number. So these are all things I'm trying to spread out this awareness as far as I'm seeing it. I documented it a lot, and have these 3 notebooks. I'm saying because I picked up one right now, and I wrote down real awareness, learned behavior, adjustment skills, and dream visions as an example of 4 ways to handle, I'm talking about also the simulator, because this morning we had a discussion about the simulator and what it was. I actually was kind of asked on it, and it came up, well, that's the simulator. And part of the discussion was because there was a recent terrorist or mass killing in New Orleans, and this event lined up with a certain, we'll call it solaristic or solar system event, which had the opposition of the planets Mars and Pluto, with Mars being retrograde, meaning going backwards. And it was lined up with this city of New Orleans, which is funny because the city of New Orleans was part of a song written by Arlo Guthrie, who was the son of Woody Guthrie, who was very famous and original country music and traveling itinerant, like a seeker, a musician, and relates to the movie Grapes of Wrath, which had to do with the going west to California to get away from Oklahoma and the Dust Bowl in the 30s. It's a famous movie where no one was able to really eke out a living. Their survival skills were sharpened, and it was extremely difficult situations where the controllers were always just giving a very little bit in terms of opportunity, and farming was the field that these people needed to work in. Okay, that's all connected. Woody Guthrie's music is about that, and there's some what we call seminal music artists who present things because they're seeing this condition and they're reporting on it. This is true of John Lennon and Bob Dylan, and I'll say my friend Jimi Hendrix, as demonstrators of certain musical content, quality, style, and they're presented in their period of that would be the 60s group there, when Paul Twitchell came out with The Stranger by the River and the Chariot and the Spiritual Notebook and Dialogues with the Master, etc. And these and the E.K. Vidya and 30 other volumes that anyone with any intelligence at the time would have read them if they had come upon them. They had a hard time coming upon them, for one thing, and that's the main thing that's happened. So we're always seeing this, and the history is just continually repeating itself in new form. Nothing's really changed. So I relate this to the current president coming in, repeating, and the situation that I think is being impaled really Vlad the Impaler, is that what they're doing is consecrating the same conditional system in a way that's connected with the AI and the economic media, so that no one is able to really contact the actual way that would work in economics, as an example, or in lifestyles, instead of this codependent and horrific, unnatural, rather, consecration of, if that's the right word, or consolidation. And that's this implementation. I see it with the football industry in particular, which is reached an all-time high of its position and importance and conduct that is, if unbecoming of healthiness, if you've ever watched the game, and there people get down and hurt in every single game that we watch or that's on. And they trying to fix their rules. All they're doing is adjusting the rules. It's not improving the overall context. And the way that they're doing the economics is to give a couple of very poor people a huge amount of money, and the rest of the people who are wanting to be like that can't be, or don't have any real opportunities to do so. And so there's a creation of a system that incorporates reactive, negative behaviors and aggression, extreme aggressions, and or even facilitates terrorism. And that brings us back full circle, because this New Year's Eve event, when I mentioned that astrological simulation was dynamic at this city area, and aligned up with this polarity of the planets, and the event was of an American soldier, a former soldier who was in Afghanistan and has since retired, and he's of some form of Middle Eastern descent, and he okay, so he drove into 30 people or whatever with bombs, or loaded or available, evidently, etc., because he has been used, and the media and the systematic direction is to use the mentality of these people, and to also, of course, there's probably PTSD, etc., involved. And so this person's, all the judgments that people are making are based on this sense facilities that we have available to us, and people take whatever's made available to them. Oh, there's this good movie, about 20 million people being killed and surviving as zombies after this terrible event, et cetera, or whatever composite idea they come up with. And the training of people in this mode is 100% what it is and what's going on. And to be aware of it is all that we are. We want to be aware of that one. That's one of the three. This whole conditioning apparatus, and You could call it artificial intelligence, even if it's not technical computer. It's still an artificial intelligence modality. And now there, of course, we have this very intense media programming domination. I call it Amazonia, which is because the Amazon is the monopolized head alongside the other cohorts of media, Bellgate and Zuckerberg. And I made these names, or these names are not made up. They're probably their real names. But it's really incredible, because you can see, and I had this experience yesterday of a person being, they came over to the house. He came over and he was looking for some, he's Afro-American, about 65, just retired, and he's always going around looking for stuff. And he comes over to my house and looks for, and I gave him 10, which is funny as an association, because when I had a past life, I was Joseph the Arimathean, which is basically an arithmetic or Aramath man who was also a merchant of tin. He went back and forth from the Middle East through the Mediterranean to England. And he was one of the people who brought the Christian to begin in England. Anyway, so this guy comes over, and I said to him, because that was Joseph Arimathea was in Christ's time. He was actually there at the burial of Jesus. So the point being that this man comes over, and I know he's got some of, he goes a little bit of the religious. I met his brother, I saw him that he has a brother who's a pastor, priest, whatever. So anyway, he comes over, and I give him the stuff, and I said to him, listen, we got to be really quiet. I don't want to disturb anybody inside. And I said to him, I want you to get this. Listen, and listen. I said this right to him. Listen, if I was Jesus, you're right here now. Would you listen with respect? Just listen with respect. Be quiet. He couldn't do it. He can't stop his mind from going. What he's thinking about, what he wants. But I kept asking him, will you please just listen, etc. It's just incredible. And this is actually a situation with everyone I talk to. I don't think that any of them, they say they're listening, but they're not really listening at all, hardly listening at all. And they're really not going, there's no coordination, unity of the communication. That's a huge space that all the human beings have to cross this space if they want their, you could call it freedom, love, beauty, and life itself. That's what I picked up about it, I guess. I guess that's enough, Val. I do want to say one other thing, unless there's something I didn't get to complete, or it sounds like I started on something and I didn't really make it clear, or please, anyone ask me, it's fine, of course. Val, one thing that came up was in the simulator, which I'm all expressing this life in the simulator. And that includes the solar arts and how the whole thing is formed, how the universe is formed, how things are formed and created by vibrations, which are in the sound and in the words, in the code of that language, but also through the chemicals and the, you could call it the eugenics in terms of humanity. And because everyone in the old way, they're open to the fact that they have a genetic history, which let's say it was 50-50. You have a genetic history and you have a solar history, which means your lifetimes and this whole operation. And then we have our human past life. Excuse me, that's the other one. The other side is there's this spiritual, so-called past lives and genetic code that and there you have those two side by side. I'll say it, and maybe didn't give the right terms, but in general. So when people say, I know I was reincarnation of so and so, it can be confirmed by doing some genetic history. But generally speaking, when people look at their genetic history, past lives of the family members, etc., that is a different past lives than where the solar or soul's bodies. Now, so I see those two, and I'm saying it that way because people say, well, they say, well, I've got a soul and I'm human. Okay, that's how they see themselves, soul and human. And many of them think, well, if they recognize their soul, so it means they probably go on to another lifetime or have some kind of life after death, so that they recognize that up to like very limited, like the first, second level of it. And that's pretty much it. And so they're not able to go beyond that to get to that where there's a freedom of opportunity of choice, what you're going to do one life to the next, or no physical lifetime anymore, etc. Whatever, realm and opportunity. I guess we would call it opportunity, really, because they're all opportunities you make of, being able to soul travel to another planet. But this real opportunity is the one that has nothing to do with doing all this traveling and visioning and creating stuff, but to be aware of it and all is, inclusively. So as said, 50 years maybe, to if one puts oneself into it, to come about, to let's say come full circle or beyond, get full, or whatever terms there are for it. And here we are, each of us, wherever we are. And so Val, I use this as an opportunity of sharing with the simulator, because I had two experiences come up. I watched this movie called The World of Henry Orient, and it's about two teenage girls who get a fascination with this guy whose actor's name was Peter Sellers. Very famous because he was in a number of movies, but Dr. Strangelove, he played the crazy mechanic doctor, scientist, whatever, who was describing to the military operators about the bomb. And he had a very funny voice and stuff like that, which he used. So in this Henry Orient, he plays a musician, pianist, who is kind of a womanizer or whatever, and the girls are fascinated by him. And so it's kind of funny business all around. And the other thing, though, was that the girl in the movie, her name was Valeska. Or Valerie, rather. Excuse me. And Val, if you don't mind, I don't think you'll mind. Val has a daughter named Valeska, which is of his name, Valdis. And Val is the name of the city that I live closest to in Georgia. It's called Valdosta. And of course, this name is a consecration also of the Latvian and Russian heritage, etc. And so I also had the name Val come up in something else I was watching her doing yesterday, the same day. And I go, what's going on here? You know, this is really weird. This is the simulator. And I'm identifying it. And so you can do so much of that, and then you go, okay, that's enough. And that's kind of where I'm at somewhat. I'm still doing my exploring, but I've written these 3 books or notebooks, which are kind of documenting this, and I'll come up with various ideas will also be given to me or shared, or that they're thoughts that I as you know, you get this, like so-called random thoughts, like I'm looking for the 3 I had. I wrote something down, and I'll just read it. It'll be okay. This was excuse me. Okay. This was a question I had, which was the environmental economy, nature tech community. And the question was about how we're really doing economics. And I know that I mentioned about this rich man's son who set up a foundation for a city in New York that is called Kingston. And it's a Hudson Valley farm hub where they have the training ground. They produce on 1,500 acres, and they supply food or integrate the food with the community's economics so that the people can pay for it as well. And they keep their money within the community so that they can recycle and regenerate the soil and the land and the produce. And they also have a training ground for of some kind, a natural educational facility, or communication network. So I wrote down internal money circulation also about that one. But why I'm relating is I wrote down, let's pretend. Excuse me, we got to jump up. First thing I wanted to say was I had this thing: how do human beings form through body language, life, tech, cellular, chemical, etc. And that's what I spoke about earlier. But then I was talking about the trumpeter, meaning myself, Trumpeter of the Trump, who I saw was going to win the election, and said how the universe was formed through the simulations. And so I also conducted my idea to this one. Let's pretend everyone in the universe knows you. The real guides will tell you everything to guide you on all. I mean, like everything, like going to the bathroom and all of these other facilities. Just as an example, it's not like this, just this one or that one. The whole thing is there available to be listened to. And so I wrote, all the people of the past are coming back to me, saying they know they've been ripped off. And I mean they're the ones who are gone and past translated while I've been alive. Which is almost all the ones I had any much care for. There's a few still, but it's not so many. And it doesn't matter, because the idea really is that, like you said, let's pretend everyone in the universe knows you. Well, they do. And you are with them, or I am with them. And each one, it's not loving one more than another or something like that. Are the people of the past are coming back to me saying they know they've been ripped off. They may be coming back big. They may be coming back, but they don't want it to be in a prison or being locked up again. And you do see that in some ways, that people are coming back saying, I don't want people telling me what to do, but you better let me have what I want, which means they're kind of being selfish on both sides. And that's just the choice that's there. So that's the choice to learn, to see, to be, to do, and be, I called it good. And the unlimited meaning, or the limited abduction, that being the choice. Are you going to see it unlimitedly, or are you going to look at it in terms of restrictions and authority, control, etc.? How they packed you into a corner, tap-lined your psyche, and maximized the minorities. They conned, cornered, and compromised your decisions. And that pretty much is the wholeness on that, I guess. Okay. And I'm just saying that in the terms of all these things I'm writing down are kind of these, this type of stuff, in various and all kinds of altruated forms, you know, obfuscated or otherwise, alternate form of communications. And so, you know, that's it. It's an ongoing thing. I'm in my third book, and this is the third year. And I wanted to say this in relation to one thing, that in the next 6 months, especially coming in sooner than that, all the planets are changing signs. All of them. And 6 of the what they call outer planets. It's funny because the outer planets are what seems to be ruling most of the people, Saturn in particular, which is just an outer planet. Why would that be the central model for what people need to be accepting or regarding? But they are. They're following what they call the Lord, the authority, the Satan, another way of saying it. And this is something, how you have to have rules, and not only that, you have to obey these rules, or we're going to throw you in jail, your behaviors are going to be observed, which they are in every way you can imagine. And this was the experience we had here with my friend who came over because he told me about the shooting that happened in our town. 2 18-year-olds shot someone with in the hand only. I think he's going to be okay, the young man in the car, but they were trying to steal the car. They did it on federal property at the post office, and they're in huge doo-doo for boys who just don't know better and don't have seemingly any other recourse, because there are no avenues. If they didn't follow the system of education, et cetera, they are in dire straits. There are very few opportunities. Or they could choose the other way, which is, you know what? I was thinking of this. You can go out, and there's a place nearby here I could go to that has a really nice wooded structure and a porch, really nice. And no one's living there. And there's even a mobile home on the property that's empty, motorized home. But it's not running, and it's been abandoned. I wrote a song at that place called The Fisherman. And I sang it. I wrote it while I was there when I met the people, and I played it for them. And all they had to say was, "Oh, that's cool." They didn't want me to send it to them and follow up and say, what's going on here? The man had a son who was a cook of fish. They were creating a fish restaurant, mobile car for, and that was, I wrote the song related to that, but it was also The Fisherman, which is like the Christian ideal of gathering up the like the shepherd and the flock, and all of that. That old story, the old man and the sea, and you know, again, the sharing of something very spontaneous. It's not being. There's no willingness to really grasp it if it's not within some framework that's been given before. You know, oh, you're with Jesus, so you know. So when I said to my friend, you know, think like if I was Jesus right here in front of you, hey, well, that's really true, and but in the sense that it's not the literal-minded view, and that's it. So we're all worthy of that, and that's all there is to it. It's so simple, and that's what I think. Okay, this year to come out, and that's coming out. I don't care, you know, that the people think that it's actually some. They see all kinds of signs, especially around here. You see them every day. If I drove to the town, Christ coming back, you know, etc.
I'm kind of curious. How long are you going to keep going?
That's it. You just got me.
Thank you.
I've been, ooh, ah, Walla Walla Bing Bang. Thank you, Ronald.
Go ahead and do the new you, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you too, Val. It's good. I did go on a bit long, but that's, you know, okay. Thank you, Val.